Guys, final topic on the agenda today is just going to be a review of the Batman movie that is coming out on March 4th in 2022. Matt Reeves is directing this new trilogy with Robert Pattinson leading the role as Bruce Wayne. So, I mean, the first trailer came out literally as COVID started last year, and the movie has been on and off productions. The date has been pushed back a million times because of the cast getting COVID, Robert Pattinson having weight issues in terms of not being in shape for the film, and blah, 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 multiple COVID scares with cast people, like I had said. So, with all of that said, that trailer was fire.
Go
That
off,
was
Kev. Go off. Go
that
off.
trailer was absolutely insane. I mean, from beginning to end, between the storyline of how it's kind of being originated from the path that Matt Reeves is trying to go down with this persona of Batman, with this version of Batman, very different from the Christian Nolan movies and Christian Bale being Batman. It's going to be absolutely incredible. They're going down a darker path, and I really do love how he is portraying Batman to be so much darker, so much more aggressive, and let's be honest, he just looks different. Everybody is used to such a noble and kind and like like I don't even know the words I'm trying to say. Just not this kind of Batman. Like we are literally going down the path of this movie potentially being rated R because of how dark it's going. Obviously, the casting is also incredible. You have freaking Zoe Kravitz. You have freaking Colin Farrell. For whatever reason, I cannot remember the man that is playing Commissioner Gordon, but he is in multiple movies, and I mean, like, I love him. He was in Casino Royale as Felix. Literally the only role I remember him as specifically by the name. But overall, casting incredible, and I'm just looking at this movie saying this has the potential to blow the doors off of DC because obviously they have been labeled pretty much irrelevant as Marvel has blown up over the last decade or so. And we're talking DC has been absolutely irrelevant outside of their animated movies. And this latest Zack Snyder's Justice League that came out a couple months ago at the beginning of the year, that 4 hour remake. And this has the potential to literally revitalize all of DC's hopes and dreams because there's just so much weight on this movie. There's so many other movies and projects coming out within 2022 and 2023. Obviously, DC Fandom was this past Saturday, so there was a lot of trailers released and teasers for other movies coming out in the future of the years, and like I said, in the next couple of months as well. So to just hone in on this Batman character, man, we're talking this is supposed to be Batman within the first few years of him becoming Batman. This is based off of the comic book lines that is Batman Year One and A Long Halloween. And both of those are very dark times for Batman. We're talking he is just getting used to being the Cape Crusader. He is just getting into the entire role of saving Gotham, but in a darker path. Obviously, he is in this movie. He is just very aggressive. He's very dark, and he is just absolutely taking and tolerating no shit. In multiple clips, we see him fighting and having absolutely no remorse for bodily harm, and he's very aggressive and basically beating the shit out of multiple criminals. And you're just like, wow, like usually Batman has like a bit of a limit or he's able to stop himself. But in this film, it really is showing that darker side of I'm not taking any shit. And I really, really like the aspect that they're going down. So with the villains being Riddler, obviously Catwoman, and then the Penguin, and then Carmine Falcone, we're going to see a very well-rounded cast in terms of how far Batman is going to go because every relationship with each villain is different. Riddler is obviously the main villain in the movie, as you can see in the trailer when you lean into the coffee cup and you see the question mark, which is Riddler's go-to logo. You get an idea of this is going to be kind of like a cat chasing a mouse, kind of like a Tom and Jerry thing, where you really think that Batman's going to be able to get Riddler, but I really do feel like this is going to end up being kind of extended. Robert Pattinson signed on for 3 roles or 3 movies, so there is kind of like no limit as to where they can go with this. Obviously, if they're basing it off of the Long Halloween story, this can carry on as that was a 13 issued series. So very curious to see how this goes, but the trailer does indicate that this is going to be probably the best Batman movie to ever come out. And I know what a lot of people are going to say, you're crazy, Christian Bale's Batman is the greatest Batman of all time. And to those of you that say that, you obviously know nothing about comics because Michael Keaton is probably the greatest Batman of all time, and there should be no debate, in which he's featured in the Flash movie, but that's another day, a topic for another day. Um, Christian Bale's Batman was a little bit over dramatized in certain ways. I didn't really like how they portrayed him and the whole raspy voice thing. Everybody kind of assumes that Batman always talks like this. Like it's just that's not how it ever went. Um, but I am definitely excited to see this new path that they've gone down. I'm excited to see the direction that Matt Reeves is going to put this character on. And I mean, if you guys haven't seen the trailer, man, you got to see it. It's absolutely incredible. They're showing all kind of aspects of multiple villains. They showed the love interest with Selena Kyle. They showed the relationship that he has with Alfred. I mean, for God's sake, the suit looks absolutely incredible. I absolutely love the bat symbol. I mean, there's multiple rumors as to what the bat symbol is made of. Some say that it is the gun that killed his parents. A little weird. Don't know if that's even true or not. Supposedly, there is going to be two suits in the movie. You saw the Batmobile. I mean, beginning to end, absolutely incredible. The hype behind it, as me being a DC pro, like a DC fan in general, more than Marvel, I can't wait. I'm stupid hyped, and I mean, like, yo, shout out to Tyree and the boys. Everybody knows like this movie has the potential to literally put DC back on the map, and I'm hoping that it does.
Kevin, what was the one word response that I had to that trailer the other day?
Dub.
Yeah, because that's how I basically see that trailer. Um, Obviously Kevin is more of the comic book buff than I am. Mostly I just watch the movies and I just kind of, take it for face value on what I think if it's good or not. Granted this is a trailer. This movie doesn't come out until March of next year. But just talking about the trailer itself, this was a phenomenal trailer. And I remember I actually made a point to Kevin saying, this trailer was so good for a movie that's not coming out for another 5 months. Yet the Spider-Man movie is coming out in December, and the trailer for that one was kind of subpar. It didn't really kind of like generate a lot of excitement for that film in the lead up to it. But this is exactly the opposite. I want this movie to actually come out like right now, just based off of that trailer. And the one thing that Kevin really hit on, and that's the point that I'm going to make here, is the aesthetic, the feel that I get from this movie just based off of the trailer. It is a much more darker. It is a much more badass type of Batman than I think we've been accustomed to the last couple films that we've seen. Where if you look at the original, not the original, if you look at the last trilogy that we saw with Batman, with Christopher Nolan directing it and Christian Bale playing Batman, it was a more moral guided Batman throughout the entire trilogy. And with this one, it's the antithesis of that. You're seeing a Batman that is basically, I don't want to say like borderline psychotic, but is making a point and asserting his dominance over anybody that he's going to potentially face in this movie. So when I just look at the trailer itself, it puts me kind of on the edge of my seat just based off of what I've seen in the 2.5 minutes that we saw on this trailer. And for that, for me, granted, I am not a huge movie guy. I don't like do like these big in-depth, discussions. I mentioned Kevin is a lot more well-versed in those conversations than I am. But just based off of the trailer that we've seen for this movie, it's phenomenal. It's a movie that I think by and large is probably going to be one of the better superhero movies to come out in a very long time. I don't think I don't know how it's going to top The Dark Knight in my opinion. I do believe that is not only the best Batman movie that I've seen. I think that's one of the best superhero movies ever. Arguably, if not the greatest superhero movie in my opinion. But that's just me. Take my word for it. It may not mean that much to somebody who's been reading comic books and watching these movies since they were probably little kids back in the 80s. So take that for what it's worth. But the performances from what I've seen in this trailer, they are thrilling, they are gripping, and it's just phenomenal. Like for a trailer, this is a grand slam. And for DC, hopefully Matt Reeves really comes through in the clutch with this movie, because there is a lot of hype generated around this movie already, and it's just unfortunate that this movie is not going to be out for another 5 months. But yeah, I think DC and I think Matt Reeves, I think they knocked it out of the park with this trailer, and I'm definitely looking forward to what they're going to put on the big screen next year.